Pour yourself a cold one.
Let's strike 'em, huh?
And listen to Ross Tucker break down the top college prospects on another tasty edition of The College Draft.
Yeah, it is Daddy Soda time here on the College Draft Podcast presented by DraftKings. We love DraftKings. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years, a bunch of podcasts. Ross Tucker Football Podcast is every day. Even Money is the NFL betting show. Of course, we've got the Fantasy Feast twice a week during the season to get you ready to set your lineup. Andrew Brandt has the terrific Business of Sports podcast, and this is the only one that is 3 podcasts for the price of one, even though it's free. It is the College Draft Podcast. You get to hear about the top prospects in college football. You get to hear about the biggest games in college football, and you get to hear Emory's picks against the spread. Emory, of course, being the star of the show. Emory Hunt at F-Ball Game Plan on Twitter, Football Game Plan on YouTube. He was way ahead of the game when it comes to YouTube. And frankly, I think he's way ahead of the game when it comes to stuff he's doing with his digital channels on Saturday, 9 a.m. to noon. It's all Emory Hunt all the time on a bunch of different channels. You can check out his draft guide, footballgameplan.com/2022 draft guide. And I don't see the normal background behind him, which tells me he's still in a hotel doing something somewhere. Emory, do tell.
I'm here on business with CBS Sports HQ, where we've been at the Caesar Sportsbook in Washington, D.C. at the Capital One Arena. Fantastic sportsbook, by the way, since Thursday. So we've been covering NFL and college football all week long, and tonight is going to be another long day there as well, focusing on one game the entire week, the Ravens and Colts. So it's been fun, man. It's been fun to see the atmosphere, and I had never been to this particular sports book, and this is probably one of the better ones that I've been to because of it's 2 levels, spacious, and we got a whole section roped off. So it's just me and the camera guy, so people must think we famous. So people kind of lurking around trying to see who's who. I had one lady come up and take a picture. She was like, dividers be damned. I need to find out who this person is. He has to be somebody famous. I'm going to stand here before a live hit and try to take a picture with them.
That is awesome, man. So it's got to be Emory. Let's you're in the trust tree right now. It is kind of cool on some level when people are looking at you like, who is that guy? That guy's famous.
Especially when what makes it worse or better is when you do the live hit and they have one of the screens simulcasting your hit. So now people seeing your picks and people seeing you do things, it's like, oh, so when the lights come on, they're like, oh, let me focus on what he's about to say. And then when they see you outside of the separators, going to the bathroom or going get some food, it's like everybody whispering. It's like, oh man, that's the dude from CU. That's it. So it is kind of cool. I gotta move like a Roomba though. I gotta be quiet and move through like nobody can see me. I gotta be incognito. I got to take the back stairwell down to get to the car and stuff.
That is amazing. That's funny. Yeah, I see it. So sometimes some of these games I do, the broadcast booth, like you might have to walk through the fans a little bit. And, you get that. I always have that CBS blazer, because that's what we wear for the games. And people are looking at you like, oh, man, it's kind of funny. That's awesome. Love that story. By the way, man, I was watching the score of the game you did Friday night. Usually Cedar Cliff is good and gives Bishop McDevitt a heck of a game. I guess, unfortunately, that was not what you saw.
Hey, man, listen. Whoever is getting, let's say, 5 of these prospects from Bishop McDevitt are going to be fantastic. The running back, Marquise Williams, I think he's the number 5 rated player in the state for his class. So he's class 2023. This dude can go anywhere in the country and star, man. This ridiculous. He's like Shady McCoy reincarnated. The receiver was good. Both receivers were good. The quarterback, Stone Sanders, is a freshman, and his dad is the strength coach for the Baltimore Ravens. This dude has a legit gun. I was shocked at how this dude was a freshman throwing the football like he did, and they got out the blocks early. And when I say it was 49-0 at halftime, so the second half, and this from a broadcast perspective, that's running clock. That means we're out of here quickly after after this one. So the second half took probably maybe 35 minutes running clock, and it was a wrap.
That might be the best game they played in a long, because Cedar Cliff's pretty decent, actually. So for them to beat them like that was surprising. Speaking of surprising, Emory, I'm not really understanding this betting line for Kentucky and Georgia. Georgia is favored by 22 points. I mean, I know Georgia's good, but Kentucky's having a heck of a year. That surprised me that Georgia's favored by 22. Let's start, though, with a couple of the players that jump out to you in this game. And we'll start with Kentucky linebacker DeAndre Square.
Yeah, he's a run and chase type linebacker. You could think in terms of someone like, and I'm not comparing it a one-to-one, but he's someone similar to that of Patrick Queen. He's a fluid guy, athletic guy, can play all three spots. You can see him as a pressure player, has good special teams value, I think, as a pro player. But you want to see more of those impactful plays coming from him. And lo and behold, he has a great opportunity in this game to make impactful plays. So this could be huge for his draft stock. But I just love the fluidity that he plays with. And again, Kentucky has, I won't say the last 3 years, they've had some really good defensive players. We've seen, Amazon guys out there at corner. Everyone that 1 year they had everybody.
Lonnie Johnson,
Chris Westry was 6'4", and they had another cat that was about 6'3" out there on the perimeter. So they've done their job. We talked about Phil Hoskins last year, a freak up front, 6'4", 340, but with cat-like quickness. So they've done a fantastic job of recruiting these athletes on that side of the ball. And Square is a good athlete and definitely going to have an opportunity to make some plays tonight.
Yeah, well, obviously, Jamin Davis, too, the linebacker that Washington took in the first round. Mm-hmm. Although Washington's defense, man, they are not what they were a year ago. I don't know what's going on over there. Let's talk about Georgia. Man, Georgia might be RBU. They always have good running backs, although I will say Penn State's had a bunch more recently. But Georgia has one this year, Zamir White.
And I tweeted this out on Saturday when they were, in the midst of ramming the ball down Auburn's throat. When you watch Zamir White, a.k.a. Zeus, man, this dude just screams Baltimore Raven, right? Like, he just, the black spats on the cleats. Every run is like if someone did something to him personally. So he's trying to run through the dude's face mask, and he finishes runs really well. He has good vision. But his contact balance is where it needs to be. He runs with, Mike Tyson-like aggressiveness. So he's breaking arm tackles. He's breaking physical tackles. One guy's not going to bring him down. And he knows how to finish at the end zone. So for me, he may not have the blazing speed, or he may not be the same caliber of prospect as a DeAndre Swift or Nick Chubb. But I think you can say from a prospect to prospect standpoint, and I was high on Sony Michel, Zamir White is about right there. You just want to see more development in the passing game, but that's where Michel probably edges him out as a prospect. But it's hard not to like how this dude runs. This dude just runs like a pro back. And I'm excited for him in the future. And if he lands in Baltimore, then that's just a match made to happen. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and New Orleans would be great spots for Zamir White to land. They seem to always find those type backs.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I love the way you describe this kid. I'm excited to watch more of him. Every run is like someone did something to him personally. That's amazing. DeAndre Swift and Nick Chubb, they both had awesome runs yesterday. I mean, Chubb, the one he broke outside. Swift just ran right over a dude, which is hard to do. Very, very impressive. So Georgia's favored by 22. Kentucky's got a really good team. I'm surprised by this. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on the spread. 22, Emory, more than 3 touchdowns.
You know what it is? I feel like they don't respect Kentucky's offense. in terms of the passing game and them being able to find consistent success against Georgia. I feel like that's the biggest concern here, which is why you see the 22-point spread. And we just saw Kentucky, make light work of LSU. But granted, that's LSU's offense. It's a grab bag offense. You don't know what you're going to get on a week-to-week basis. And I also feel like they're not respecting Kentucky's defense. I feel like Kentucky has really good defense. So this is one of those spreads that is very questionable. Kentucky, to me, is a better team than Georgia. Than Auburn, and I think this will be closer. So I will take Kentucky in the points here. I feel like Kentucky can keep this one under that 22 number. It may be 18, it may be 19, maybe 21, but we're cashing that ticket if it's under 22.
I'm with you on that. I will say this. My vote for the Heisman right now is the nose tackle for Georgia. Whew. I love that dude. I love interior linemen, period. Show your true vehicle versatility and unlock the power of your car's interior with upgrades at AutoZone. Your car interior is as important as your exterior. Why? Because that's where you spend most of your time, inside your car. October is fall car care month. So show your car some love with help from AutoZone. Car smelling like a locker room? I don't know, Emory. You drive a lot, man. I don't know. AutoZone has the cleaning products you need to freshen up. Simple upgrades like seat covers prevent spills, tears, rips. If you're like me and you've got two little kids, they absolutely tear up the interior. Kids are not good for car interiors. Anyway, this fall car care month, make AutoZone your one-stop car interior shop. They carry the best products from the best brands at the right price. Get in the zone. AutoZone. Let's get into the next game. Really excited to talk to you about this one. It's Pitt at Virginia Tech, and Pitt is favored by 4. He's having a great year so far, Emory. I'm excited to hear what you've got to say about Pitt quarterback Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, and Pickett was someone that I liked 2 years ago because for whatever reason, because of how travel schedules can be and how I try to fit things in, I always try to fit like scouting games into my broadcast schedule. So if I have a break on a Thursday and Friday, I'm going to find a game. And that's why you used to see me at either Ivy League on a Friday or somewhere in the Northeast on a Thursday night. And Pitt always falls on a Thursday night, and they always play in North Carolina. Matter of fact, he played North Carolina in November on Thursday night. Again, I might catch that one as well. And that's why I got exposed to Kenny Pickett. I just love the way this dude throws the football. He has a gunslinger mentality. He's thriving in a short to intermediate area of the field. Those in-breaking routes, he's hitting those consistently. That's where he loves to live. That's where his continuity is within the offense. And I feel like he's getting more confidence going deeper down the field. And they have tremendous talent at wide receiver. He almost reminds me a lot when he's in rhythm, kind of like how Kirk Cousins is when he's in rhythm. The ball comes out quick, it comes out on time, and he's just dicing guys up and moving the football down the field. And I see a lot of that with Pickett's game. Now, he can get a little bit too confident and maybe miss those, just like Kirk Cousins, miss those buzzing linebackers and defenders underneath in zone coverage and throw it right to him. But we've seen less of that this year and more of the latter of the former. And so that's why I feel like he's improving his draft stock. But I've always liked Kenny Pickett, quick, concise, and, has a little good movement skills within the pocket. He's a really good quarterback.
I need to find out who number 3 is for Pitt. That young receiver they have.
Yes.
That dude is awesome. I mean, he's been tearing people up. I think this is like his first year really getting a chance to play a lot. What about the Hokies and their edge rusher, Amari Barno, coming off that tough loss to the Irish?
Yeah, Barno is someone when this is a scouting dream. This is when scouts are talking about prospects. This is a prospect, someone that's checking boxes, like height, weight, length, athleticism, unfinished product. So if we get him in our program, we can build on the physical traits that he has. And the one thing he does have that I really do like about defenders, he has that dog mentality. He's someone that is looking to hit. He's not one of these peekaboo type players that, like a linebacker that wants to wait and see. He is running through someone's chest. And as a pass rusher, they always say relentlessness, and that's something you see from Barno. It may not be polished, he may not have the wild moves, but this dude is going to find his way to the quarterback, and he's a long, athletic guy. And I think because he has the pass rushing chops in terms of the hustle and the relentlessness. Hustle will get you everywhere you want to go on a football field. He has that, and he's also able to close. He seems to always make impactful plays at or behind the line of scrimmage. So that alone, all those boxes that I just described, someone's going to get themselves a raw player, with a lot of rough edges in terms of technique and those things. But that can be coached. But the athleticism, the hustle, you can't coach that. So I want someone like Barno on my team.
Pitt's favored by 4. The game's at Virginia Tech, Emory. What are you doing?
Now, is this game at night or is it during the day? Because Virginia Tech is like Iowa. And Iowa I knew the game plan for Iowa. They were we're going to hang around. This game started at 3. If we can get it to nightfall, we have a chance.
It's a 3:30 p.m. Eastern game. 3:30 p.m. Eastern. So it'll be dark for the second half.
See that?
It'll be dark for like the end of the game. It'll be dark for like the last 15 minutes, maybe.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with Pitt here because that's the thing. If Virginia Tech get you tonight, like Iowa, then it's a completely different ball game. But I'm gonna lay those points with Pitt. I just think offensively they're playing at a high level, and now that they've gotten over some proverbial humps in their schedule, in the early part of their schedule, the confidence is high. So now they expect to win. I think they take care of business against the Hokies.
Yeah, I would say for Iowa, if they can get your starting quarterback out of the game too, they can win, because there's no chance they were winning that game if Sean Clifford stayed in the whole time. Penn State was the better team, unfortunately. Injuries matter, and depth matters, and recruiting matters, and having your backup quarterback ready to roll matters. So let's get to Oklahoma State and Texas. Emory, Texas. I mean, speaking of backup quarterbacks, dude, and backup quarterbacks mattering, Oklahoma put in theirs, who's a true freshman from D.C., Caleb Williams, and what an epic win for the Sooners. And I'm wondering, Oklahoma State's at Texas. Texas is favored by 5. I'm wondering if there's some residuals from that loss a little bit, Emory. That was a brutal, tough loss for them.
And that's a situation, and we see this all the time in football, whether it's high school, college, or pro, where teams let one loss become 2. This would be the quintessential example of that, where Texas we were blowing out Oklahoma, and now we find ourselves losing that ball game, and in comes a team in Oklahoma State that's quietly undefeated, that's just winning games and is just playing really well. But the shoe is going to fall off for Oklahoma. Quietly, these are similar teams in terms of how they handle success. So Texas could be in a situation where last week's loss becomes this week's problem, and we'll see if that's going to be the case against Oklahoma State.
Let's talk about the running backs for both teams. We'll start with Oklahoma State's running back, L.D. Brown.
He did a great job filling in admirably for Chuba Hubbard when Hubbard was out last year, and people had the conversation, is L.D. Brown better than Hubbard? Well, maybe from a vision standpoint, he's better, in my opinion. Hubbard had just track speed, so L.D. Brown doesn't have track speed, but he has really good speed. He can rip off a chunk play or two. I feel like he's more of a complimentary guy at the next level. I could see him landing in some place like Kansas City or somewhere like that where they utilize multiple backs, Chicago even, and get him involved because he has good burst. He has good contact balance. I love to say that for a back because he's 5'9", 205. So you're not going to knock him over. You're going to knock him to the side. And he's also very solid in pass pro, which is always an impressive trait to have coming out of college.
What about Bijan Robinson? We talked about him a little bit last week. in the sense that people were saying it's not a great draft class for running backs. He did have some nice plays against Oklahoma. I don't know if he went crazy. They got a lot of production from their quarterback, Casey Thompson. But let's talk Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring him up on this, this show, because we touched on him last week, and we live in a hot take society. And when I say hot take, it doesn't mean like that's a bad take or a terrible take. It's just, it's a little bit hyperbole when you say he's the best running back right now in the country. Like, okay, cool. I know you had a nice long run, but let's simmer down, turn heat to low, and let's focus on some facts right quick. But when you watch him, for a guy that's what, 215, 220 almost, he's breaking through tackles, which is great. He has very good long speed, and he showed against Oklahoma he has a flair for the dramatic. Showed good broken field running skills, and I think his ability as a kickoff returner tends to help with that, because everything is broken field in a return game. So you combine those traits, you can understand why people view him very highly. And he can catch the ball in the backfield. He could be a downfield threat in a passing game, more than your standard swing screens, flares, and flats. He can go downfield and make plays as a receiver. So yeah, he is ideally what you want at the position. And this is a game against a very good team in Oklahoma State, to where he could just add another element to his whole profile of this guy shows up in the biggest of games at the biggest of moments and helps his team win. He did that last week, and it looked like it was going to be, an easy win for Texas. But we know the outcome of that one, so we'll see if he can bounce back. And if Texas is having one of those Texas type games, can Bijan Robinson be the reason why they win? Can he put the team on his back and carry them over the hump?
Texas favored by 5. Which way are you going, Emory?
This is tough, man, because you don't trust Oklahoma State. Texas coming off a tough loss to their rival. This game could get out of hand. So I'm going to venture out and say that we will see Texas rebound, and I'm going to lay those 5 with the Longhorns. I just don't trust Oklahoma State's quarterback situation enough to think they can go in there and pull off the upset. They are very inconsistent at quarterback, and to me, that's an issue. We saw Oklahoma be inconsistent at quarterback, and they pulled their guy, and the freshman phenom came in there. Can Oklahoma State provide that same spark? I don't think so. I'm laying those points with Texas.
Let's get to App State at Louisiana, your alma mater. But before we do, I love small businesses, overcoming the odds, rewriting the playbook, delivering under pressure. The MVPs of small business lead their teams to victory all year long. Visa is proud to provide playmakers everywhere with more tools to help grow their business and help them achieve even greater success. Because the more people we can empower, the more we all win. Visa, a network working for everyone. All right. App State is laying 2 at Louisiana. App State, you've got Thomas Hennigan and Corey Sutton.
Both of those receivers are legit good, man. Sutton is getting a lot of the pub this year. As an explosive guy, as a dynamic guy, and rightfully so. He can really track the football well. He's dynamic after the catch. So I got to give him his props for what he has done. Hennigan is someone that has been consistent, steady. He's a physical guy out there on the perimeter. So when it's a 50-50 ball, he's someone that's going to out-jump you. He's going to out-muscle you, and he's going to try to break that tackle and go a long way. He's been the more consistent player over time. He's played a little bit more. And I feel like he's not getting talked about enough, but he has been the clutch guy, in my opinion, in their passing game. Sutton is the more dynamic guy, the explosive guy, the big play threat. So both guys are going to be locked in for this matchup, because it's a strength versus strength battle. Cajun secondary versus App State's receiving core, and I'm excited to watch it.
What about for Louisiana? Quarterback Levi Lewis and the edge rusher Chauncey Manick. It feels like Levi Lewis has been there a while.
He has. He came back for that bonus year. He was a senior last year, so he came back for the free year with the NCAA. And I've always said this. He's a point guard passer, point shoot type passer, good athlete, can be a +1 in the run game. He hasn't run a lot this year, so I expect them to unlock that in this game. You remember last year, he took over when he decided to take off and run. They had the long snap issue where they were just snapping punts over the punter's head constantly in that ball game. Levi Lewis took over, started to take off a little bit more. And I know Chase Bryce on the other side, the quarterback that transferred from Clemson to Duke to App State. He's making his way through South Carolina and North Carolina. But I feel like Levi Lewis is the better player. So he's someone that has been quiet this year. He had a lot of buzz last year from a draft perspective. People was impressed with his play. They need him to have that big game in this matchup, and that's the matchup for him. And Chauncey Manac is someone that I've been raving about for about 3 years because he has heavy hands. He's a power rusher. He closes really well, and is someone that makes game-changing plays on defense. So if they're going to beat App State, Manac is going to have to find a way to live in the backfield, set up shop, and get out the Bryce.
All right, App State favored by 2. Emory, which way are you going?
Louisiana all the way. Because here's the thing,
Is this your heart or your brain talking?
This is both. They're in unison. They're lockstep because there's a little bit of frustration here too. Louisiana lost to Texas in week 1 and hasn't even sniffed the top 25 since. They opened up at 23. I think it were 23. They lose to Texas and barely are even in the others receiving votes category. Like, this is one loss. They haven't lost since. Meanwhile, Coastal Carolina has beat up on some really good teams and beat up on a bunch of tomato cans, and they're locked in the top 15. Not knocking Coastal Carolina. They are a very explosive team, but all roads lead to Louisiana and Coastal meeting up in the Sun Belt Conference Championship. Knock on wood, if they can get past this game, I do think they'll do so. The Cajuns have, that teal and black locked in their minds. Last year, they got over the App State hump. I think they can get over App State again and keep the train rolling toward the Sun Belt Conference Championship and take on Coastal. A game that should have happened last year, but COVID issues with Coastal canceled the Sun Belt Conference Championship game. So we never know who would have won that matchup when those two teams are both in the top 25, but definitely take the Cajuns here in the points.
Check him out on social media at FBall Game Plan on Twitter, Football Game Plan on YouTube, of course. He's killing it with all the CBS Sports HQ stuff that you can check out whenever. And there's never a wrong time to get ahead of the game and get his draft guide. Don't procrastinate. Just get it now. footballgameplan.com/2022 draft guide. And then you already can check off that box. You don't need to worry about anything else. You'll get the best draft guide in the business like mid-February next year, whenever it comes out. Awesome. Thank you, Emory.
Always a pleasure, Ross.
Check us out on social as well, at Ross Tucker NFL, at Ross Tucker Pod. The keg is kicked. We're all tapped out.
Thanks for listening to the College Draft Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Fantasy Feast, Even Money, and The Business of Sports. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.
A lot of times on the show, I mentioned DraftKings. Here's what you need to know. You got to be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. By the way, if what I was talking about included a deposit bonus, doesn't always, sometimes it does. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough, and deposit bonuses are paid out in site credit.